Good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is September 11th, 2020, and today I want to talk about God's will. I don't know if I'm in a mood or two. I don't know. I know I am a bit disappointed. You know how you can just go through your life and you just kind of make plans and you kind of like, have ideas and you want to see it come together and you, let's just leave it at that. I think you guys understand where I'm coming from. And then I guess, the more you want to see it coming together, the more it seems like maybe it's just not meant to be. And, or maybe it's just not God's will, I don't know how many of us actually acknowledge God in that way to be like, all right, well, Lord, even if it's not your will, that's still okay. I think I have to find balance with that throughout my life. And, if you guys are there with me, if you understand what I'm talking about, then cool. And if you haven't had to do that, then hey, God bless you, But yeah, I guess that's where I am right now. But, at the end of the day, just seeing another day is a blessing. And, I guess at the end of the day, I gotta make my wants God's wants, and gotta, again, acknowledge God's will in everything. So, everything may not necessarily turn out the way you plan or hope, but that doesn't mean that it's still not how it's supposed to be, And I guess the more I think about my own little selfish wants and desires, I guess I'm reminded of how beautiful life is, and to just honestly just be thankful for what you have. And so, yeah, I guess that's where I am at mentally at the moment. However, I guess just to put things in perspective a bit, I'm sure you all know, well, if you're here in the States, then you were probably aware that today, September 11th, is actually a National Day of Service and Remembrance, and the anniversary of September 11th, 2001, the terrorist attacks that happened on that day. So, again, I guess when you put your life into perspective, and not just in regards to comparing it to others, but just really acknowledging that, hey, the world doesn't revolve around you, and again, just being thankful and grateful for what you have, in spite of, what you don't have, and in spite of what you may thought or whatever the case is, I guess when you really, really think about it, at the end of the day, it's a blessing to be blessed. It's a blessing to see another day. It's a blessing to be alive, so yeah, I guess at the end of the day, we probably should more so focus on God and His will rather than focusing on the things that we didn't get or things that we wanted that didn't happen or whatever the case is. Not to say just because it could be worse, but yeah. But hey, friends, I got some Bible for you all. I want y'all to sit here and be like, well, man, Miracle's being a downer today. That could be how you're feeling. So I do got some Bible for you. to get us thinking about God and His will. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." One thing I noticed is as I was reading or as I was taking notes or writing down the verses for today, is there are a lot of verses in reference to what God's will is for us. And, I guess I found that kind of interesting because sometimes, I can say for me, I know I've been there where I've been confused about what God's will has been for me, or sometimes I've been confused about oh, well, should I do this or should I do that, or is that God's will, and things like that. And so, yeah, I guess there's a lot of verses for us to know God's will. Just got to take out the time to read them and get them in our hearts, souls, and minds, Check this out right here, 1 Peter 2, and I hope this is 15, apologize. But anyway, it says, "For this is the will of God, that by doing good you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people." Check this out right here. John 7:17 says, "If anyone's will is to do God's will, he will know whether the teaching is from God or whether I am speaking on my own authority." Yeah. There you go, friends. I guess that's the thing too. It's we go through life and we think that people are, working their own authority, or they're trying to put their, I know I've heard a lot about, people feeling Christians are pushing their doctrine on others and things like that. It's well, if you are a true believer, if you truly following Christ, or if you truly are trying to do the will of God, then as the word right here says, who's being real and who's not, so that's one thing. Check this out right here. Ephesians 5:17 says, "Therefore do not be foolish, but understand that understand what the will of the Lord is." Yeah, again, I'm going to read that just in case it got jumbled up. It says, "Therefore do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is." The only way we can understand that, y'all, is if we study to show ourselves approved. Check this out right here. It's 1 Peter 3:17 says, "For it is better to suffer for doing good, if that should be God's will, than doing evil." There you go. Again, y'all, I just feel like this is just a peek into God's mind, right? Like we were saying over the past few days. It's people don't want to suffer, right? Nobody wants to suffer. Nobody wants to be in a bad place or be getting hurt, whatever the case is. But if that is the will of God, then according to this verse right here, that is better than going off. And if you're doing good, right? And you're suffering for doing good, that's better than to, take your revenge or do any type of evil. Because maybe you won't suffer now, but if you get into the Word of God, you'll see what is supposed to happen later, when it comes to all of that. At the end of the day, if you really truly feel like you don't know what God's will is for your life, I feel like this verse right here would just be a clear example for all of us, what the general will of God is for us. And that's 1 Timothy 2:4. That says, "Who desires all people to be saved and to come to know the knowledge of the truth." Yeah, I felt like when I came across that this morning, that was a clear example of what the general will of God is for us. I mean, again, there's going to be several verses that I, put in the Go Deeper section for you all to peruse today, if you're ready to go deeper about this topic of God's will. However, generally that's probably a good example, I feel, of what God's will is for us in our lives. And just to reiterate again, that's to come to know the knowledge of the truth. And I guess the way to do that again is to get into the Word, get it in our hearts, souls, and minds, pray, and seek Him and His will for us. I apologize if my juice kind of tangy today. I don't know. Just keep me in prayer and stuff as well, friends. But like I said, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit disappointed today. Not to say that the things I was talking about yesterday could be done or anything, but it's just, again, I just say it like this. I feel like if it's God will for it to be done, then it'll be done. If not, that's still okay. And then that's God's will, Yeah, I know there's a verse that talks about that we need to, and it's going to be in the Go Deeper section. I just didn't write it down to read it to you guys. But basically the whole verse is like, why we should just kind of always say, if it's God's will that we do this or that. Again, it's just acknowledging God in all our ways and everything like that. So again, I mean, you guys hear me say it every day, here on the Juice. But I mean, I guess I have to just reiterate it again that, even in all the little desires or the things that I might want and everything like that, hey, if the Lord's will, if it's God's will, it's going to happen. If it's not, it's not going to happen. And I mean, and that's okay. Like, we got to get to a place where we be okay with what God's will is. That's the thing. Finding that balance of being like, all right, well, Lord, I thought that this would go this way, or maybe I desired or wanted things to go that way. But at the end of the day, it's your will, At least that's what God, Jesus, however you want to look at it. Well, not however you want to look at him. But anyway, that's what Jesus did in the garden, He said, but by your will, Lord, not mine, I'm sure he would have loved to avoid the cross or avoided all that pain and suffering. However, if God's will, so I mean, surely if he can do that, we can do that with our little desires and our little, the things that we want and stuff. So, hey, but anywho, friends, let's get into the Bible verse of the day, and that is Psalms 147:3. It says, He healeth the broken in heart and bindeth up their wounds. There you go, friends. I mean, speaking of that suffering and everything like that, I mean, He's going to heal us. He's going to bind up the wounds, and we'll be all right. Hey, and like I said, it's better to be in God's will than to not be. I guess that's, at the end of the day, that's the message for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this juice. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. If I pause real quick, I'm going to remind you guys that, hey, there's an episode of God, Sex, and Love, the talk show, coming out tonight at 11:30 p.m. So be ready to tune in if you want to tune in. But you can also go and check it out on demand. Just go to the website, godsexandlove.com, and click the flyer, click, and you should go straight to the on-demand page where all of our all of our episodes that we currently have uploaded are there, and you can watch them on demand. But again, you guys can check out Preach the Word Worldwide Network to see the episode tonight. There's several ways you can watch it, friends. You can watch it live on the website. You can go on Roku. There's like a whole list of different ways that you can check out the episode at 11:30 p.m. tonight. But yeah, man, well, I hope you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much again for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can, just stay in God's will today, y'all. And I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.